I can listen to you all day, and I do listen to you a lot. But how do you go from believing to knowing?
Well, in the same way that there is a vibrational variance between doubting and believing, there is a vibrational variance between believing and knowing. Doubting and believing is a further expanse. Doubting is not far from disappointment, which is not far from fear, which is not far from disempowerment. In other words, when you doubt something, your vibration is very far from the knowing of it. Mm-hmm. And by the time you reach this vibration of hoping, you've come most of the distance. And so you can go quickly from hoping to believing, and quickly from believing to knowing. It's just a matter of staying there focused a little longer. All hope means is that you're focused more upon what you want than you are upon what is. It's where you've tipped the balance of the scale so that more of the time you are thinking about it as you want it to be rather than seeing it like it is. So once you tip that balance, that fulcrum tips downstream, so to speak, as you find the feeling that begins to feel like belief, there's a lot of momentum in that. And somewhere between hoping and believing, you start getting manifestations. And so belief goes from knowing because all kinds of evidence is now pointing toward it. Oh, we love saying this to you. What a wonderful question you've put to us. When you're hoping for something, you're still in that phase where it's vibrationally complete and you are mostly thinking in direction of what you want rather than what you don't want, but the manifestation hasn't started showing itself to you. But if you stay in that hopeful place long enough, now manifestations begin to show themselves to you, and now you begin to believe. When you begin hoping for something, and then you start noticing what comes from that, and then you begin believing and you start noticing what comes from that, before long, knowing is easy. We want to put this into the context of what faith is. A feeling of faith is belief that it will happen even though I don't have evidence that it is happening. And it's what we were talking about earlier, as we were talking about any of you traveling from city to city. That journey is understandable. So you don't get out there halfway and get disoriented. You understand those journeys. But often when you're going from sickness to wellness, or from not having something you want to having it, you don't have any evidence. There are no signposts that are so vivid and obvious to you other than the guidance of emotion. And so this knowledge that you are reaching for can come to you immediately when you accept that the way you feel is your indication of direction. In other words, when you know that the better you feel, the better it gets, and the worse you feel, the worse it gets, that's the knowledge that you're really wanting to reach for. When you notice the absolute correlation between how you've been thinking and feeling and what's manifesting, you've got knowledge. So then something wonderful will happen, and Esther will say, I did that. That's knowledge. When something not so wonderful happens, Esther said, I did that. That's knowledge. So it's the knowing of the guidance system that we want you to focus upon. Everything that you live is a replication of how you've been feeling. Nothing happens that's separate from the way you feel. Everything happens that is exactly corresponding to how you've been feeling. So as you start consciously noticing those comparisons, as you think and feel and have a manifestational result, before you know it, you have knowledge. And then you start saying, I know I did that. And we think that that's really the knowledge that you're wanting to reach for. And then it's just a matter of practicing the better feeling thoughts. We think what trips so many of you up is that you've been trying to compare how you feel with how others have felt or how others are feeling, when the comparison that you want to make is, how does this thought feel in relationship to the thought that I just thought? And as you keep leaning to increasingly better feeling thoughts, before you know it, you'll become addicted to the feeling of momentum and well-being. And then the conversation won't be, how do I have knowledge? The conversation will say, I have the knowledge. The question is whether I am deliberately applying it or not. We tease Esther a little bit because she knows the difference between a thought that feels better and a thought that feels not as good. She knows. She's been practicing this for a long time. She knows a thought that feels a little better and a little better and a little better. And with deliberate attention, she can parlay any thought that feels any way into a better feeling thought. No matter how good it feels, she can make it better. No matter how bad it feels, she can make it better. She knows how to make every single thought feel better. But sometimes she does not use that as her criteria. She'll say, well, it's true. As if that has anything to do with anything. There are a lot of things that are true that you don't want to live. There are a lot of things that are true that you do want to live. Let the criteria be, how does it feel when I think it, you say. Very good.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.